y'all? Alright, so we've been getting so caught up in fishing dues that I thought that today would be a good opportunity. It is cold, so I figured today would be a good opportunity to do some fishing don'ts. Just stuff that I've seen over the years that from so much time fishing that I've kind of figured out on my own. A lot of this stuff I haven't done, but I have seen other people do, and it's just a lot of it, until you fish a lot of it is just until you actually experience it, you would never even think about it until it happens to you. So that's what today is going to be about. It's just fishing don'ts, what not to do while fishing. But stay tuned and I'll go over all that stuff. Okay, casting into a tree. Look behind you before you cast. I don't care if you know for a fact that there is nobody behind you or there are no objects. Every time that you go to cast, look behind you. Both ways, look behind you. I tend to sidearm a lot, and that's because I used to fish a lot of creeks where I had to sidearm underneath. When I say sidearm, I'm talking about swinging it out to the side like this. I used to have to cast under a lot of trees, so I learned how to sidearm really well. Every once in a while, I still overhand, but most of the time I sidearm. Before you cast, look behind you, make your cast. You can hook trees, you can hook people, you can hook, that's the most important thing, you can hook people. You can, hook just about anything behind you. You can actually hook stuff, not at your lure, but on your line and get a nick in your line. Toss out there, you might not know that your line caught on something. You got to hook into a fish and you just lost your lure and the fish. So look behind you before you cast. The other thing that you can do is, like in this video, you can, if you come, like say that you catch someone's hat, that's their head. You could catch their eyeball, which there's no coming back from. You catch their eyeball, you cast back. I know it sounds gross, but you catch their eyeball, gone. It's very, very easy to hook someone. So always look behind you, look around you, know your surroundings. Staring at your phone or electronic device. Guys, we go out there to fish and I'm not saying you don't ever look at your phone. I'm not saying that. Every once in a while I'll glance at it and see if my wife sent me a text message or something so that I can reply to her. I get phone calls because my work phone is my personal phone, so I get phone calls regarding work and I'll answer it. But don't sit there on Facebook or Instagram while you're fishing. If your lure's not in the water, you're not fishing. So make sure that you're out there to enjoy Mother Nature and be outside. So don't be glued to your electronic device. If you use a two-piece rod, I usually use a two-piece rod. If you're going to do that, make sure that you get the eyes lined up as straight as possible. The easiest way to do it, normally you have one eye. You can use your reel too to line it up. But look, when you're putting your rod together, the two-piece rod, look straight down the rod and either use the eye or the reel seat and make sure it's lined up. If it's crooked, it won't cast right. You run the risk of missing a fish. Every once in a while, make sure, I'm sure you guys see me do it on the videos, make sure that rod didn't come loose or anything. I actually have had that happen where I went to cast out and the top half of my rod went flying off on the line. Fortunately, I was able to just reel it in. All right, it is very important to check your line and check your knot. It's more important. I'm not gonna say it's more important. It's important whenever you are fishing monofilament or fluorocarbon. It's really important. Every once in a while, get a 3-foot section or so, and just run your fingers down the line. Just run your fingers down the line. Check your knot. You've been out here, you've been catching fish after fish after fish, which is awesome. But check your knot. The knot, I don't care how good of a knot you tie, that knot, especially if you're using braid, that knot is going to work its way out. The more the fish you catch, the more you snag on stuff, everything, that knot is going to eventually work its way out. And you have to think of it this way. You go out and you buy these fishing lures, and it's just like the rod and the reel. That is an investment. So if you're going out and you're throwing a whopper plopper, most places that's about a $13 lure. Check the knot. Check your line, check the knot. The last thing you want to do is whip your whopper plopper out there, or whatever lure, and go to set the hook on a huge bass that just exploded, and your line comes flying back at you. That's a horrible feeling. And it could have been avoided if you would have just checked your line, made sure there weren't any nicks, no frays, nothing like that. And checked your knot to make sure that you had a good knot tie. What I try to do is I'll catch maybe 3 good fish, and then every time I catch a fish, I check my knot. But I'll catch about 3 good fish. I'll run my finger down my line. Now, if I've been fishing like rocks or logs or anything like that, or trees, then I check my line more often. It's kind of situational, but I'll check my knot after each fish catch, because each fish catch, even if it's a 1 pound bass, you have to remember it's pulling against your pole, and it's pulling that line, and it's putting stress on your knot. And like I said, I don't care how good your knot is, that pulling is eventually going to work the knot out. So check your line, check your knots. When you are walking along, it is important to not drag your pole tip on the ground. Keep your pole up a little bit. It doesn't have to be, you don't want it straight up in the air. If you have, especially something with trebles, now I demonstrated here with, I have my Keitech swim bait on a swim bait jig, but it's important that you keep your pole at a certain angle. You don't want it straight up in the air. If you have trebles on, you're going to catch your own pole. It's not good for your pole. You're going to get tangled up in your line, and you're going to have a bad day. If you have, even the swim bait, your line's going to wrap around your pole, and then you have to sit there and unwrap it before you go to make that perfect cast that you want to make. So that's important, and it's also important that you don't drag your pole tip on the ground. You're walking along, you're walking along, you're dragging the tip of your pole on the ground, and all of a sudden you hit something. And if you look at the end of your pole, most of the time those are ceramic guides. It takes one rock or one tree root to completely destroy the tip of your pole. You destroy the tip of your pole, and when you go to cast out with your line, all of a sudden you have a line cutter at the end of the tip of your pole. That's not what you want. You want smooth guides so that your line doesn't get frayed, it doesn't get nicked, it doesn't get cut in half. So it's important to keep that rod tip up while you're transporting your stuff. And it's also important to not hold the pole straight up in the air. Hold it straight up in the air, then you're going to get snags and tangles and everything else. Wildlife. Watch out for wildlife. There are alligators. I know some people that catch alligators catch them on accident. Some people that catch birds, it's an accident. I've hooked a seagull before on accident. I went to pull a topwater hidden spitting image. I will never forget it. Went to pull it away from the bird, and the seagull swooped down. This was in Pennsylvania. It wasn't like I was at the ocean or anything. The seagull swooped down. It grabbed the spitting image, and the reason that it grabbed it was I went to pull it away from the bird. My line got wrapped up in my reel, and I couldn't get the lure away from the bird fast enough. I unhooked it, it flew away, it was all good, but long story short, make sure that you just keep your lures and stuff away from wildlife. If you see a bird, don't cast near the bird. If you see anything like that, if you see an alligator, don't cast near the alligator. You know, their predatory instincts are going to take over, and they're going to try to eat it. So make sure that you watch out for wildlife. All right, make sure that whenever you tie your lure on, that you actually use a good knot. There are tons of fishing knots out there. There are a bunch of good ones. I still use the old Rapala knot. That's my favorite one. It's never failed me, but there are lots of them out there. I mean, you can go on YouTube. There are plenty of people that show you, how to tie different knots. I might even do some videos on that eventually for y'all. But make sure that you tie a good knot. Like we talked about, you're making an investment in that lure, and you do not want to lose it. Plus, you don't want a fish swimming around with a lure in its mouth that is your lure. So make sure that you tie a good knot. After you get done tying your knot, make sure that you don't just leave your fishing line on the ground. Fishing line gets tangled, it gets wrapped up. I've seen dead birds that have had fishing line wrapped up around them, and it's because somebody just left a bunch of fishing line laying there. It kind of goes back to the old camping rule. Leave it the way that you found it, or better. If you can leave something better than the way you found it, that's awesome. Pick up a little litter. People litter a lot. Pick up some trash, throw it away. Maybe when you go to your favorite pond or lake, you could take a trash bag with you and actually pick some stuff up and leave it better than the way that you found it. As fishermen, we have a responsibility to keep the ponds and the lakes and the rivers and everything that we enjoy going out and spending time at ponds. It doesn't matter what you fish. We have a responsibility to leave it better than the way that we found it. So when you are loading up your fishing stuff in your car, it's important that you make sure all of your tackle is safe in there. And that goes for a boat too. That goes for pretty much anything. If you're loading your tackle up in a boat, make sure that your rods and everything are secure. It doesn't take much to break one. A lot of people probably think that you break a big rod on a big fish. It happens, but the biggest enemy of rods are fishermen. We break rods. If you take care of your stuff, it's an investment. They're not cheap. You can get some cheap ones, but when you really get into fishing, you're going out and you're spending, usually, well, we won't get into money, but anyway, you're going out and you're making an investment into something that you're going to use for fishing. So breaking it is a very bad feeling, and it can be avoided if you just make sure that everything is secure. It's not in the way, it's not going to get stepped on, it's not going to get shut in a car door. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. It was a lot of fun to make. I might do another one because I know I covered a lot of stuff, but there's so much more, of don'ts for fishing. And I know a lot of people do a good job of the do's. You know, there are a ton of people out there that put out a lot of good content about do this while you're fishing, do this while you're fishing, and I do the same thing. But this video is, you know, important because the don'ts are just as important as the do's. So just, you know, try to avoid doing this stuff. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and remember to hit that like button if you like the video, comment if you have one. I love seeing the comments and I answer to all of them. And remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on the little bell notification, and that way every time I put out a new video, you'll be the first to know it. But thanks for watching, guys. I'm out.